Donald Trump and his White House are taking a very premature victory lap because Trump just announced that he's pausing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for the next 30 days because apparently he was able to reach an agreement with these countries that satisfied his demands of them. But in reality, Donald Trump got played like a fiddle by both Canada and Mexico, and he doesn't even realize it. So let me explain. And listen, if you're MAGA and you're watching this, just buckle up because this is not going to go well for you and your cult leader. So we got this article from CBS News today. It's headlined, quote, "Trump pauses tariffs on Mexico and Canada for 1 month after talks with leaders." And it reads, Mr. Trump wrote on Truth Social in the morning that he and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for a 1-month period. The pause, he said, will, quote, allow negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of Commerce, and high-level representatives of Mexico to, let them have their conversations, find an agreement. The president wrote that he had a, quote, very friendly conversation with Sheinbaum in which she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants into our country, Trump wrote. At the White House later in the day, Trump told reporters that the call went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. Sheinbaum unveiled the details of the deal in an earlier post on Twitter, or X, saying that the U.S. is committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico and that our teams will begin working today on 2 fronts, security and trade. She wrote in Spanish that Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking and immigration. So this is something that Donald Trump is trying to frame as a huge win for him, that he got this done. Nobody else was able to get it done. He got Mexico to roll over. But in reality, that's not really what happened at all, because this is something that happened under Joe Biden, actually. Mexico, here's an article from 2021. Under Joe Biden, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala deploy troops to lower migration. This is something that President Biden got done. The Biden administration has struck an agreement with Mexico, Honduras, and Guatemala to temporarily surge security forces to their borders in an effort to reduce the tide of migration to the U.S. border. The agreement comes as the U.S. saw a record number of unaccompanied children attempting to cross the border in March. According to the White House press secretary at the time, Jen Psaki, who we love, Mexico will maintain a deployment of about 10,000 troops. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? While Guatemala has surged 1,500 police and military personnel to its southern border, and Honduras has deployed 7,000 police and military personnel to its border. So President Biden got 18,500 military or police personnel from Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras in one deal in 2021. This is something that Mexico has already done in recent history. But now Donald Trump is trying to take a victory lap and frame it as if he's the only person that could have gotten it done and nobody else was able to do it and he's securing the border. This has been something that Joe Biden's been doing, my man. He's already been working on this. He got it done first. And by the way, I think it's just hilarious that Donald Trump has previously claimed that Mexico has not done enough on the southern border and not done enough to curb migration or drug trafficking, because here's a really good summary from the New York Times on exactly what they've done to combat both drug trafficking and immigrants. Mexico has significantly increased immigration enforcement in recent years, particularly during the Biden administration. It has added hundreds of immigration checkpoints across the country, including along once deserted sections of the border, conducted inspections on commercial bus routes, and drastically increased detentions to deter people from reaching border cities like Tijuana, a top migrant entry point near San Diego. Mexican authorities raided hotels and safe houses, increased security at official crossings, and installed new border checkpoints. Mexico also moved migrants away from the border using chartered flights and buses, which helped contribute to a plunge in apprehensions of people trying to cross the southern border at the start of last year, again when Joe Biden was president. The government also introduced bureaucratic obstacles for migrants trying to make it into the United States. And when it comes to drug trafficking, Mexico recently seized more than a ton of fentanyl, which is the equivalent of 20 million doses of fentanyl pills, in which Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, described as the largest mass seizure of fentanyl pills ever made. So they're doing a lot of work to already combat a flow of migration into the United States, drug trafficking. They're already doing this work, but Donald Trump said it wasn't enough. So basically what Mexico said is, hey, we'll agree to send 10,000 troops. We'll agree to crack down on this stuff more as long as you remove the tariffs. And Donald Trump said, okay. And Mexico's just basically agreeing to things that they're already doing. He got played like a fiddle by Mexico. And that's just the first part of this story. He got played like a fiddle by Mexico. Now, in the afternoon, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau issued a statement saying that Donald Trump is pausing the tariffs on Canadian imports for at least 30 days, following a pair of phone calls between the two leaders. In return, Trudeau said Canada is implementing a $1.3 billion plan to protect the border. Trump soon confirmed the deal. Trump wrote, quote, "I'm very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not a final economic deal with Canada can be structured," Mr. Trump wrote. On Saturday, Mr. Trump signed the tariffs, as we all know. But here's the thing about Donald Trump's little deal with Canada. It's the same concept as what happened with Mexico. Canada is agreeing to things that they're already doing, and in exchange, they got Donald Trump to remove all of the tariffs. Here's some articles from the official Canadian government website. They talk about how this is kind of like a year summary of their enforcement at the border, and it talks about how already they have 8,500 frontline employees at the border. So these border personnel that Donald Trump's talking about, the 10,000, they already have 8,500. They're just increasing it by 1,500. And Donald Trump calls it a massive rush of enforcement at the border. And then, you know that $1.3 billion plan that Donald Trump just announced that is so new and Canada is taking his threat seriously? Yeah, so they actually announced that deal, the border plan, in December of 2024, December 17th. Joe Biden was still president when Canada announced this deal. You can see it right here. And it includes all of the things that Justin Trudeau just spoke about and said that they would now be doing. So basically what happened here is Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump got on the phone. And Trudeau said to Trump, hey, look, we'll implement this $1.3 billion border plan. We'll have 10,000 people on the border. All you got to do for us is remove those tariffs. Donald Trump sat there and said, sure. They got Donald Trump to roll over. They agreed to things that they're already doing, and in exchange, Donald Trump dropped his tariffs for at least the next 30 days. Trump got played like a fiddle. They've agreed to things they're already doing, both Mexico and Canada, and now Donald Trump is trying to take a victory lap and say, hey, look what I've done. I'm such a great negotiator. I got these countries to roll over, and MAGA will likely fall for it because they don't pay attention to stuff like this. Many of them, at least, the diehard Trump supporters, at least. But it's all out there. We can see it for ourselves that this has been something that's been in the works for a long time. In the case of Mexico, Biden did it first in 2021, got almost double the amount of troops at the border that Donald Trump has. So this is Donald Trump's con in real time, where he creates a crisis by, threatening a trade war against Canada and Mexico, some of our largest trading partners. And that crisis would be devastating for the American people. It'd be devastating for businesses here in the United States. And at the beginning of today, we saw the market slip dramatically because people recognize how bad that would be. So there's a crisis created by Donald Trump. Then he comes in and claims to solve the crisis he created and that he deserves credit for solving the crisis he created, and his supporters just eat it up. It's like this feedback loop that happens all the time. It's the circle of life in Donald Trump's world, and that's just what happened, and that's what we saw today with Donald Trump claiming to have ended this trade war with such a terrific agreement. He just wants credit, and he wants the media, and he wants the attention. It's the whole playbook by Donald Trump. But anyway. So if you see MAGA lunatics on social media taking a victory lap, just remind them of the facts that we discussed today, because there's not much to celebrate for them. You know what I mean? There's just not much once you know what you're talking about. So anyway, listen, I will leave the video there. I just wanted to bring this stuff to your attention. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to drop a like on the video. Also, comment down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. Subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, goes an incredibly long way. And as always, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.